Thank you everyone for being part of this conversation. Little brief info on who I have at this point in time. So I have Arnav Neel with me. Arnav Neel is the managing director, ex-managing director of Blippar. Manisha Phadke is the school and design director at NMIMS. Clyde D'Souza, who's an immersive content advisor and a content creator. Suraj Ravi, he's the founder of Question What Is Real and the Lal Group, and Chhaya, the co-founder of GoPhygital. So thank you for being part of this conversation. So yes, COVID-19, I think it's for the entire world to a pause. Nothing like this has happened in recent history, right? So let's not get too much into COVID-19. Let's go on the impact of COVID-19, right? At this point in time, the economic impact is going to be the startup impact. Everybody is going to get impacted, right? So immersive tech, you guys are the front runners of immersive technology. So how is COVID-19 impacting us, and how is COVID-19 going to impact the entire immersive tech industry? So whoever wants to take a lead.
I think COVID-19 has impacted us in different ways, as you said, but in particularly immersive tech, I think I have a very a quirky experience to share, because there are people with young kids who are now bringing up their AR and VR sets to give them the reality. I mean, to immerse them in a reality that is not possible today. So I think that's where we are going to start with, in a little ways, entertainment, definitely. And I think education is, from where I come from, is definitely going online. And, we've had to adjust and quickly get into online delivery mode. And I think that's another place that I think we should look at where immersive is concerned. And the third is collaboration, because now we are all working from home and we still need to collaborate. So besides having a Zoom address these days, I think collaborative, immersive platforms would be the next way to go as well.
Arnav, you want to get in and chip into that, please?
I think it's an opportunity. And as I was kind of looking at various things that have been happening all around the world, specifically last 15 days, I think there is a terrific opportunity in education. There's a terrific opportunity in healthcare. I think, but mostly education, what people are trying to kind of merge the entire upskilling of the entire workforce. I think that's a big opportunity. And I think it's, as what Manisha said, that, and I think the entire I think we are kind of this entire COVID-19 has kind of pushed us towards and forcing us to collaborate, which though we have tried for the last probably 2 years in trying to do it, I think it is kind of putting all us on the same pedestal and saying, hey, how can we join hands and get things rolling, because this is the need of the hour. And I think, as somebody was saying, that as consumption economy is getting dead almost, right? It's the necessity economy which is driving it, and in today's day and age, it is something that we need to join hands together to find out the entire relevance of. It's not about really AR, VR, or AI or whatever, right? It's about the entire tech adoption, which needs to be, which is obviously probably getting accelerated in an autopilot right now, because everybody I speak to are saying, hey, what can we do to make our businesses future ready? How do we go about it? So it seems people are kind of waking up, just kind of woke up from a stupor and saying, hey, we don't know what's happening, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 quarters, but we want our workforce to be reskilled. We want to know how do we integrate tech in our businesses. So I think going forward, I think these are 3-4 areas which surely would be an opportunity area and mostly impact this.
Right. So Clyde, you want to chip in and say how it's impacting the entertainment industry?
It's like Hollywood is shut. I know for sure Hollywood is shut. In fact, I was supposed to fly to Sri Lanka for the upcoming film. Now that has been postponed because of all the shutdowns. So from the film industry perspective, it's definitely affected. But what's interesting is there's been like a scramble right now to get into what's called virtual production. If you saw, TV serials like The Mandalorian, and everything's being done in kind of real-time green screen, in-camera effects without compositing later on, that kind of. So that is where it's kind of accelerating right now. And that's something that I'm actually in overtime right now, using this time off to get to grips with. So going forward, I think, this area is going to grow very, very let's say, exponentially in filmmaking, which is a good thing. And probably what I'm seeing is the bigger time benefits of it, the larger effects of not having to unnecessarily have meetings in person or unnecessarily have to shoot where not relevant, and you could actually produce content remotely. So when it comes to animation, it's a given. When it comes to design, it's a given. Uh, the interesting thing for me is live action and hybrid filmmaking, and I'm seeing probably, well, the benefits of the way that the world is changing with this event that's happening in there. So that's how it's affected me. But I'm hoping that there is something to be learned for going forward
Right, right,
in the
right.
industry.
Right, right, lovely. So Suraj, you're the one who's actually working on building a VR headset and AR headset, right?
Right.
So how has it impacted you? You know, because I mean, I believe like when you get into production of AR VR headset, that's especially for the tech behemoths, the ones with the big pockets, right? You being a startup, so I'm sure people will identify with you. A lot of people will identify with you. So how has it impacted you?
Right. So, just to address a particular niche that caught my attention when we were trying to analyze the data we have on where and how we should be, pushing our sales or our marketing or trying to take an advantage of this COVID-19 situation. The one thing that we realized was something that was affecting even our own team was isolation. The thing is that sitting inside the same four walls over and over, especially when you're a bachelor, you don't really have the luxuries of having a 2 bedroom hall kitchen or something. These guys barely have a room. Most of them are even sharing one room. So there's a lack of privacy now because you're sitting in the house, and apart from that, there's a massive impact of that on your head. So creative teams are not really able to focus more or give more. Productivity has gone really low in that segment. So what I tried to do was, I don't know if you guys have come to my office. We have a wall where we have pretty much every single AR VR headset, that we could buy. So what I did was I shipped pretty much all of them, as many as I could before the quarantine started, to all the employees. At least one employee should have one immersive hardware. So what we noticed was even the people like my graphic designers are now using devices way too often than when they were using it inside the office. We have pretty much an open culture, it's right there, but they're using it more. So from a psychological point of view, I see a massive, uptick. Uh, it's good or bad, we are nobody to decide, but for sure, immersive adoption is gonna increase massively, especially when it comes to, escapism as a thing. For everybody, claustrophobia or isolation, the numbers are pretty huge when it comes to the amount of people, especially in the younger demographic, who face all these problems. Depression is an issue. So, and people are resorting to virtual reality because it's affordable now. And we do have applications that are built to, elevate basic stress. And then we have guys like Clyde who are going into beautiful places and shooting 360. So at least, if not a digital sandbox, I can at least stay on top of a mountain for half an hour and elevate that stress for that period of time. So that's pretty much where we think the most amount of impact has been, at least from what data we've analyzed.
Right, right, right. So, Ninad, I mean, you're the one who services enterprises, right? You
Sure.
experiences, right? So, how has it impacted you?
Yes. So from our point of view, and more from an overall industry point of view, right? Till a few weeks ago, immersive tech was being referred to as the future of tech or the future of work or the future of life, future of entertainment. And suddenly, because of COVID-19, we realized that the future is coming at us a lot faster than we anticipated.
Yeah.
The future is
Yeah,
now,
I second that.
right? I mean, uh, and there's a massive learning curve in having to unlearn decades of being trained in a particular way of working to now adapting to the new now. That, hey, you know what? It is not, like Suraj mentioned, it's not going to be possible always working in the same physical space. You will need to adapt technology a lot faster than you're used to. And the very fact that Zoom meetings are suddenly shooting up, right? And people are like the video is a new uh, video is a new tool to interact with people, even
Interact.
though people were
True.
doing it on a one-on-one basis earlier. Now it's suddenly collaborative working via video. Matter of time before we will have AR, VR headsets kind of make that more immersive with meetings coming in, with trainings happening in immersive tech from that perspective. is this a matter of time where the hardware needs to be accessible? And I think uh, teams like Suraj's team, the QWR group, are working towards how can the hardware become a lot more accessible, so that maybe the next meeting we have amongst this group will be holograms of us. I mean, what we saw
Oh
in,
yeah,
yeah, something like the Avengers, where
true.
Nick Fury talks to the panel. I mean, and that could be like a hologram standing in front of you. So it is changing. There is going to be a massive unlearning curve first, and then the learning curve will start. So it's like the Nike swoosh. There will be a unlearning, and then the hockey stick will come once devices are more affordable and mass market. So it is changing. We are talking to companies. Everybody is saying, hey, you know what? To be able to adapt to digital transformation, we will first need to meet in the physical space to understand how we can do that. So I think it is going to be a digital ecosystem going forward.
Right,
So
right, right. So are you guys seeing this as an opportunity, especially for immersive tech? Somehow adversity creates opportunity, and some of the biggest millionaires have kind of tapped onto the 2008 downturn and used that as an opportunity to grow businesses. Even right now, if you see, like there are these sectors, sunshine sectors. Even right now, at this point in time, gaming is doing really good. Streaming, Clyde. I mean, it is doing beautiful. Education, right? That's a tech which is doing beautiful. Healthcare, telemedicine. So would you guys like to shine light on that? Will we need to kind of reinvent those models? Especially maybe like the education sector or the healthcare sector, and the entertainment sector is anyway poised towards that. But how badly is that going to disrupt the traditional sectors? So who wants to start? Arnav, you want to start in first?
Uh, I think it's and I think the impact point is, and I was kind of tweeting about it last night, was saying that it's about every category. You have a generation of business professionals who need to be taught how to do business in technology, moving away from flying on planes and doing a handshake. I think it's a cultural larger cultural change that needs to be implemented, rather than how technology really can kind of make an impact in their business. Because what Ninad also mentioned is that suddenly this entire COVID-19 phenomena that has come in, we were talking about future, and it's just right next to our doorstep, right? So a lot of people who have been, I mean, people like Manisha who have been readying students for the future, right? They are kind of need to kind of implement that now, right? So I think it's not about how traditional businesses need to adapt technology today, or get ready for technology tomorrow. I am sure a lot of us who speak to clients on a day to day basis, across categories, be it healthcare, be it education, none of them, believe me, were kind of ready for implementing a new solution in the next 2 quarters, right? They were saying, hey, let's still evaluate, let's still validate, let's do beta, let's do test case. So the idea was that, hey, what do we do? How do we move forward? And suddenly this entire push by COVID is an unknown force, which is kind of, I don't want to call it, uh, opportunity because of ethical issues, because people may not kind of want to look at COVID as an opportunity that has been forced on our throat, but that's the truth, right? So I think it's about I think the shift of businesses today has to move away from tactical to more strategic use of emerging tech. Emerging tech is no longer your something that that you sit down and decide that, hey, this is my funnel and I'm going to use it probably 2021, right? So the sudden knee jerk, but the idea is, how do we help businesses to do that handshake and tell them that you don't have to do a knee jerk reaction right today. Even you read about what is happening in UK, where people are using VR to tell medical professionals how a COVID infected lung is going to look like, to right now what Nina's team is doing with IPCA, saying that, hey, can we kind of do some myth busting with some data that is to come in? So I think it's about sensitizing businesses across, and everybody of us who are working in different part of that value system, I think needs to stand up and kind of push through a conversation saying that, hey, right, we shouldn't, for this is again a very personal opinion, but I think we shouldn't look at this opportunity to make money, but we should look at it as an opportunity to create value, and help businesses to handle them and say, how do we take the next step forward? Because if we do this diligently, then I'm sure there is a lot of opportunity that's going to come in, to make profit or do revenues and stuff like that.
Right, right. Thank you. So Manisha, what are your views on this? And I mean, the traditional system is collapsing, and COVID-19 could just be that force of nature which would force the education system to kind of relook at the way they've been functioning. So, what are your views on that? How deeply do you think the education sector is going to be impacted?
I think it's not deeply impacted, it is disrupted. So, universities, I mean, a school like mine, as Arnav rightly said, we are technology facing schools. So, we went online with not too much gaps. I mean, it was just a 2-day gap, and we went online teaching design, and not professing subjects. But the rest of the 16 schools of our university also went online immediately. And it's interesting to know that people have found out in courses that are professed courses, students have actually taken interest because Zoom allows you to have a breakout room, go and discuss something there, come back. And the faculty is actually reporting that they have a lot of engagement compared to what happens in a class of 60, right? So I think education definitely needed something to disrupt it, and this is probably an opportunity. I agree with Arnav again saying that it is unethical to say that, but well, some people say this is World War III, and we have to face it and recalibrate. So my view on this is two-faced. Coming from a design field, we also look at emotional quotient. So, we did have corporates talking about value of your time, value of your work-life balance. What it has done for us is it has made us think, what do we want to do and how can we be productive? So contrary to what people are also saying, I find there are people who are productive because now you have a kid at home, you cannot work, you find time to work. And I think that's much better than sitting in an office for 8 hours and have a wandering mind. Okay, so things are changing in different ways, and we have different kinds of people, so we can't really concise into one research data. But I really think productivity is increased, especially in Bombay, right? Some people travel 4 hours a day to come to work. You've already lost all your energy when you come to work. So I think that's also an opportunity for us. The third part is trust. So IT companies have a very well actually drafted work from home policies, right? But a university like ours, maybe Suraj also didn't have one like that. But once you do it, and once there is trust in your employers, in our employees and our team, I think work will change its dimension. People will be more productive. People are doing, thinking what we can do. And I think that's what is going to become bringing innovation culture in every place that we work. Well, talking about, there are different people on different milestones in the corporate or even in universities, right? There are people who have to actually start with something preliminary as digital transformation, just get everything on a system. And here we are talking about getting into immersive. So there are going to be different people at different milestones, and we have to work with them. Where I'm talking about immersive is also, if you see today, Zoom has changed the way we are working. So like you see Clyde has something personal that he has made around it, like there's a background. All of us are trying to do different things to get into a workspace. I think we'll have to use the same modality or same approach to get people quickly into immersive. And that's probably the pathway that I see. Like, it's immersive is, you have to willingly get into that experience. And if we actually get people to do that and say that you can get camaraderie there, you can get your whole team working there. And, the points that Suraj mentions were very insightful from that particular age group. I think that will also lead. So there is an emotional quotient, there is a trust factor, and there is a work and a work culture factor. I think all these three together can transform into the next future. And it's not future, definitely it's out on our doorstep, the immersive tech. And that's what I feel in a
So
nutshell.
I'd just like to add about my 10 cents on the on what Manisha ma'am just said. So the thing is, like, the entire answer here is the screen. So when you're sitting inside a classroom and you have a mobile phone in your pocket, you're more interested in what is happening inside your mobile phone. Right now, your entire, what you are interacting, and humans are not really capable of, getting in and out of sandboxes very quickly. Like, if I am already in a Zoom classroom, I won't be able to interact with my friend on WhatsApp very efficiently. So it's going. So the reason over here is that the person is like clearly forced to work towards towards looking at the screen and then keep themselves engaged. That's the reason. And children love screens. Now imagine strapping that screen 2 inches away from their face. That's what's going to happen next, right? So it's quite crazy how, if you are saying that engagement has already increased substantially just by diminishing the value of a physical, what do you call, physical space called a college, you're literally saving more than 2 hours a day per student for travel time. And they can, they could be doing other work as well, like while sitting at home, and be engaged inside a classroom remotely. And one more question that I want Manisha ma'am to answer is building more schools important, or is it more, having more children educated more important for
The
a
latter.
person like you? The latter, right?
Latter.
So,
The
yeah.
latter.
So the idea is that colleges need to be boxed inside a virtual reality headset and be sent to pretty much every single corner of India. That
Yeah.
primarily will become a leaner, more efficient scaling opportunity for an education platform than building a brick and mortar school.
Well, I have my difference of opinion in that particular one. When I say
Okay.
in response to India, where
Mm-hmm.
where a certain quality of education is not affordable or maybe approachable to Metro 2 or even villages and towns, I agree with that. But to grow, and if we are looking at education not as means to learn, but to develop a character, a
Oh, for sure.
personality, you need all other aspects as well. So it's a win-win between two. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to let all of you know, there was an interesting conversation when I was taking feedback, and they said, man, we get tired from 8 to 3 looking at the screen. Right.
Wow.
And they are actually on the screen more than this,
Yeah, for sure.
generally. But what I deduced from this comment is their mind is focused from
Yeah,
8 to 3,
of
right?
course.
Which doesn't happen in a class. Your class, you're doodling, you're looking somewhere, you're finding what that guy is sleeping, your mind is diverted. Here you are focused, and that's the tiredness they're talking about. It's not looking at the screen. I'm darn well sure those kids are used to looking at more screen time than I am, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yes, I mean, I believe both are necessary. Yeah.
Right. So let me chip in and just put my personal point of view, because yes, I think we're in cusp of some extreme and awesome changes which is going to happen, and possibly this natural disaster maybe just could be that point which is like pushing point towards it, because yes, there are a lot of these traditional structures which I believe will kind of like maybe fall out or kind of merge with these technology which is going with which Suraj mentioned. Is that like a VR headset? I mean, the adoption so far has been difficult because it's been very difficult to convince the people who hold these traditional mindset about the importance and the transformative quality of these technology. So maybe this would be a, from now on, maybe it'll become easier to make people
Yes.
understand how important for us is to adopt these technologies, these transformational technologies, because
Yeah, it's like the electric car equation, right? Like adoption, it's not like the electric car didn't exist. It existed long ago, but then people shunned it out because, they were like, petrol mein sab chal raha hai mera.
right.
Motor manufacturers and all.
Definitely. I think that's the future. So Clyde and Ninad, you guys
Yeah.
want to chip in, because I think
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
see
See,
this accelerating immersive technology. So let's
well,
start
I
with
think
Clyde.
for me, before we even talk about immersive, what I've been seeing is a shift in basic technology like this. For example, I've been on LinkedIn for the past 3 years. I hate meetings. I hate one-to-one meetings. That's just me. I'd like to connect first and see if we're going somewhere electronically and it warrants a meeting in the first place. Now I'm suddenly seeing that past 3 weeks, connect requests which I had sent like 6 months ago, all coming in. So what that means is that it's either because people are forced to sit at home or because they're losing jobs and they're on LinkedIn now. So they're using technology now when they should have been using this in their own work. It also brings it down to things like we're talking about designs. And, there's a big well, I'll not mention the name, but one of the big design schools in Mumbai. 2 years ago, I had gone out there with them and told them you need to get design into the immersive realm. You know, virtually designing whatever it is, products or things like that. With a headset or with augmented reality, you need to get. But the HR didn't see. So the thing is, like a basic learning initiative had to be done at that time. We're always being reactive in this side of the world. Yesterday, I was watching a little clip on Bill Gates and how he was talking about funding 7 different, what do you call it, universities or production of the vaccine. And he said maybe one or two will work. The other three will go to, or four or five will go to waste. But we don't mind spending that kind of billions of dollars in waste because we need to work right now. So being proactive about it. And for me, this looks like now finally, because of COVID, um, we're being forced to literally take a proactive stance. But yes, getting
Yeah.
into immersive, it is definitely what should have been done and what is going to be done right now going forward for education. I'm very pro education being in an immersive collaborative space. Things like Facebook's Horizon, for example, is going to be a platform where you will walk, where you will talk. Walk and talk, I mean, because headset like the Oculus Quest lets you do that room scale. You could walk around, you could meet other people, you can exchange ideas. You don't need to meet in person unless you really have to meet. So these are great tech that are, technology that's coming up, and we should be adopting it. There's just one thing for me for education. There is this thing that I believe that headsets should be introduced to kids above the age of 12 or 13, because as a stereographer, I have that angle of there has been no proof or no conclusive studies really about the effects it could have on younger developing kids. So as long as
Mhm.
they're above 12 or 13, I'm all for it. Start out there, start them getting into the thing right now, so that in the future, something like social interaction can happen in the virtual world, and when needed, it's done in the real world, at least from the business point of view, business social interaction or business interaction. So
Ninad,
yes, it's providing an opportunity.
right. Ninad, you want to chip in? Because, I mean, from here onwards, do you think it'll be easier for you to go and get jobs rather than trying to go behind these people and convince them about the importance of using virtual reality?
Well, I hope so. Um, I think yes, it is an adversity which is making all of us relook at what we are doing, and I really hope companies realize that immersive tech is something which will help them in the business continuity, irrespective of whether if we have another such calamity facing us, we should be better prepared. I think it's a really important wake up call which we have had to see, hey, how can we leverage technology and adopt it at a much faster pace to be able to continue working as we do. If I compare it with the current generation and what Clyde also mentioned, that it is the way people are re-looking at things, where the kids of today, we keep calling them digital natives, or they're born with like mobile phones in their hand, and they are much more uh, receptive to mobile technology. I think the next generation is going to be similarly immersive natives. We will see Ready Player One being relived in real life, hopefully in our lifetimes, where people will look at leveraging headsets and leveraging technology and leveraging content as a natural extension of what we do, be it education, be it entertainment, be it shopping. I mean, we have been talking about use cases saying, oh, you could do shopping in virtual reality, or you could have a cinema experience with your headset. You could have room scale gaming experiences, or learn education in a much more immersive manner. Hopefully in the next few years, we should see that happening in reality. So the lines between virtual and what we call the physical reality are going to get blurred going forward. And that will only happen in a collaborative approach. Arnav mentioned he had tweeted about it last night, and I said, hey, it is no longer a client-vendor approach which businesses will need to take. We need to, if we have to win over this limitation of physical boundaries, we have to work collaboratively as partners. So businesses will need to relook at their processes and talk to technology companies saying, hey, how do we solve this using technology, and how can it help us? And that's where, like you asked, will it help us pitch our solutions in a better manner? I certainly hope so.
Right. So I'm trying to put in a couple of questions, and I would request you guys to keep the answers a little shorter, crisper. So you know,
Sure.
we're the privileged lot, right? I mean, you know, at this point in time, you know, we be enjoying things at our home, you know, but there's a lot of people who are like really, really disrupted, especially the daily wage laborers and stuff like that. Startups, on the other hand, are going through a lot of stress at this point in time, because you know they need cash runway, you know, to kind of like weather it out for the first two, you know, the first two coming quarters, you know. The investment seems to be a little funky at this point in time. Most of the investors are saying that they're going to possibly wait it out, maybe like 2 quarters, to kind of figure out, you know, if they start investing. So do you think immersive tech is going to be impacted, or do you think this is an opportunity for immersive tech? You know, Arnav, you want to take lead and start on this, please?
I mean, look, the idea was that for a lot of investors today, seed round is they're treating seed round as round C. They're saying, look, if you're looking at 3x, we're looking at 3x in seed round itself. So they're saying, so the entire mental shift is already starting to happen. If you see conversations on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and how these founders are reacting to COVID-19 on their current investment also, right? They're saying that, you know, they've already made their investment for this year. They're saying, you know, we don't know how. It's like essentially a blind spot for investment as well. They're saying we have already made our investment. We really don't know how the next 3 quarters are going to look like. I mean, if you really look at most immersive tech projects today, I mean, if you're looking at, if you really talk to guys like me and Ninar, who are kind of essentially consulting on client side and the business side, is that most of our projects have got a long gestation period, right? The investment on this project has already happened, right? So if I need to do a project now, I am looking at implementation of the project maybe in June, because it just takes that same amount of time, right? So the investment on the project has already happened, right? My problem is that there are a lot of, so immersive tech to that level, I don't think will be so much impacted, right? But I would really see a lot of projects which are tactical, which are brand led, which are campaign led, right? They would essentially be impacted because people are looking to move their budgets from the tactical to a larger strategic investment in emerging tech, right? They're saying, because, so that's number one. Number two, the impact I mean, cognizant that this answer has to be very, very crisp. So I think the larger problem is that the COVID-19 is impacting the cash economy startups, right? So I think emerging tech is not part of that, which is immediately impacted.
Right. Manisha, your views?
Okay, I would agree a lot, because everybody is waiting it out. They don't know how long it's going to take, how long it's going to recover the economy, and that's why people are waiting. So I think it's not going to be free flowing like it was. People are going to really wait it out. Startups are going to find it difficult to prove their value. But I think when the value is proved, we would get, but at least not in this quarter. I don't think anything is going to happen with this quarter. We'll have to wait it out for the next quarter.
Right. Clyde, your views?
It's interesting. Just yesterday, I was following the Minister of Broadcasting and Information of Singapore, and he put it out there that he's having meetings for to see the future of freelancers and stuff like that, and what they would need, and how to build up the ecosystem for media. And the interesting thing
Okay.
is, I believe that like startups, which are savvy, which are tech savvy, they do not need to physically have meetings anymore. If the solution is for immersive tech investments, and the VCs already know where it's going. So, for example, let's take the design school. A design school knows probably. I'm just this is a hypothetical situation that their students cannot come in there right now. So all you need to do is
Right.
connect with someone like Suraj and say, okay, do you have the headsets? All right, here's the case scenario of how we're going to build this, because all this is being built on the cloud without even having to probably meet and shake hands over a table. And then you've got Zoom to do that. So VC can see these case scenarios that it's immersive tech. Here's the startup plan. The plan is to probably provide a whole platform for collaboration, for education. Let's go for it. Let's go fund it. But it needs thinking. It needs a mindset shift from the way that it's been handled of pitch deck with this, with that, in person, and I need to gel with you. No, now you gel online. You see the person, you go for it. And there are definitely these things are happening. Probably not in India, but Singapore is looking ahead. And if they're going to be doing stuff like that, so should I believe the others. So there is an opportunity as far as immersive investments go, and VCs are there. The savvy VCs know this.
Suraj, your views?
I see it as an opportunity, of course, because now I've spent about 18 months of my life, trying to seek investors in India, trying to fund my idea, and I have failed miserably. So what I'm trying to understand is I'm trying to prove to them, the actual value of it, because they see numbers, and if you really want to, if you really want numbers to be put on the paper, you need to produce, and after you produce, you need to get adoption. So I think that this 3 months is going to be a test for us to see how we can grow adoption. And as our production got pushed by about 21 to 22 days, what we did in those 21 to 22 days was try to look at what is essential. So even though we are a hardware startup, we now are focused on building those essential apps. You have how would a calendar app look like inside virtual reality? Have you ever thought of that? What will your calendar app look like? What will your music app look like? What will your video app look
Interesting.
like? There has to be a default app setting. You have that for your cell phone, but there is nothing when it comes to virtual reality. Everybody has tried their own thing, but there is no unified single device that has a chat app as well as all this default inbuilt on device. So that's it's actually given us more time to think, and it's given us more time to produce better content or better tools for more people to be able to use it. Like the 6 tiles on my screen right now, I can which are 6 different lives. I think that all 6 lives can use my device and use it for anything. Eddie can use it for music production. Clyde can use it to watch his 360 footage. Mam can use it to probably procreate or think or check out student assignments. Especially when it comes to design, if you have a 3D model, you really can't interact with it very well on a 2D screen. But the immersive headset gives you the capability to interact with it way more than you could before. And of course, Ninad and Arnav are salesmen for us. They are the real bullets you have in your arsenal when like you have two cannons sitting right inside Mumbai as a city. So let's hope that I impress them with the hardware, and then they're able to impress their clients.
Nina, do you want to chip in and say what are your views on the investment?
Sure. So, like Suraj said, right, the next 3 months are going to be crucial for every business. I mean, not just startups, but uh, it is now also where to allocate your funds. Is it for surviving or growth? And for most startups, it is
Yeah.
a very thin line between survival and growth. So we will need to be really keeping a close eye on where every dollar is being spent and how we kind of try to stretch that each dollar to reach out to our clients and see what we can turn around for them in a much more cost-effective manner. As a company, we work with various businesses across sectors. So we're working with a company in the travel space, we're working with a pharma company, and each company is facing a different challenge. I mean, something we did for the pharma companies really working out for them. The travel guys are kind of right now, obviously because of the impact on traveling, are having a hard time. But they are hopeful that after 3 months, they will see a big uptick in their business trend. So it is going to be a roller coaster ride. Now it all depends on whether you enjoy being on a roller coaster or you're scared of it. As a startup guy, well, you better enjoy it once you're on the roller coaster because that's what we signed up for. So it is going to be interesting. Uh, I'm cautiously optimistic, but so far I think there is still the light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope it's not an oncoming train.
Yeah. I mean, look, Eddie. Somebody was telling me yesterday that if you compare it with the 1929 depression and other natural global calamities as well, right? So you should not focus on a career. You should focus on a job, right? Because you never know how it's COVID is kind of making us so vulnerable that you can't plan a career anymore, right? So you have to have a job and do it well. And I think there are two kind of startups: one which has money and which doesn't have money. So if you have money with you, then you can focus that money on innovation and wait for the right things. I know for sure there is a travel startup which is Pankaj. Pankaj is Off Traveler. He just said that he started with ClearTrip. With TripAdvisor.
TripAdvisor.
Right? Yeah, but I think it's a brilliant innovation that he has done. And because he has no pressure on cash in this quarter, he's been able to focus his energies on doing that. And he can kind of be ready when probably by end of June. But there are a lot of startups, who have, as Nina said, between that fine line, zigzag line between survival and growth.
Right. So the last question, and we can make it very, very short, and sweet. So collaboration. Do you think that is the future, and do you think that will kind of save us? Because if you see the people who are working on silos are wiped out, magically being I'm taking names, but So do you see collaboration as the future? Because and do you think that we should use this point of time to learn, relearn, reskill, reinvent ourselves to kind of build the future? What are your views?
I think. Absolutely. I mean, the idea is this is the time for all of us to get together and create a very cohesive. So for me, the idea is cohesion, not collaboration. We need to be more cohesive in creating value, right? If Manisha's school is creating a talent, we should be able to find opportunities for the talent, right? If there is a demand in the market, right, we should be able to go and tell a business to kind of augment that demand. Right? If there is a skill that is there, I think we need to find ways to augment that skill. The challenge is that, and I think another important shift that is going to happen is go local, right? And I've been telling this to Suraj for a long time that if you need to scale in this market, right? And COVID is a great paradigm shift for us as well. You need to have products and platforms which is local. Oculus Go, Quest, Magic Leap, you take them and put it in the Indian market, they'll fail. And I keep on saying this is an opportunity to do a Marutification of the emerging tech industry. I think it's very, very need of the hour that we create cohesive demand. We all come together and ensure that we help this industry to push together with cohesiveness. Collaboration obviously is there, but we need to be more cohesive.
Right. Manisha, your views?
So I think collaboration is the need of yesterday. I mean, if you see our program also, that we build it as a character trait in our curriculum. You have to be collaborative. But where I'm looking at is participatory. So here we are, 6 of us. We have our different expertise, and we are going to participate to create a value. So we respect that each of us have a certain expertise, and depending upon what problem we are solving, we will participate. So I think that's the next way. And we'll also have the user with us. So Marutification is having the user with us. So we don't keep him at the distance, but we involve him in what we do. So I think that's where I see the future. And I have seen some collaborative immersive tech platforms, and auto design and manufacturing they are really using it because they needed it, and because they are not in a single country or single premise. And if they have got into working with something that you can't touch and feel, and they build cars that you can. They're tangible. I think we all of us can do that, and that's something that what I'm calling as participatory.
Right. Clyde, your views?
The trap that we fall in when we think about going local. I've seen it happening in the content or in the film industry. And the same could be said for hardware then, because when we do not hold ourselves accountable to an international standard of what's happening out there, and we think of doing it locally, we tend to shave corners, to cut corners. You can see it in the way films are done. And the same thing with hardware. I'm not saying immersive hardware, but generally with hardware, because we try to keep this kind of local reservation going on there. And I would say go global. If you've got something great, go global with it. Collaborate globally with people outside of the local ecosystem.
Suraj.
Like very simply speaking, whenever the team keeps asking me, what do you want to print on the box? Do you want to print make in India? Do you want to print made in India? I keep telling them don't print anything or just print made in Asia. Because if you look at the entire product, right, there are sensors, there are different components inside of it. There are more than 170 components inside it. Everything has a person who spent more than 5 to 6 years of time building and developing that one small sensor. So just write made in Asia, because that addresses a larger demographic of people whose hard work has really gone into something like this, into developing something like this, and it is important for us to celebrate that. And it is important for us to give them all credit rather than just saying that you made it in India just because it might give you 5 more followers on Twitter or something like that. So well, yeah, I see collaboration like from the global standpoint as one of the primary backbones of how innovation is going to really push forward. Secondly, being a startup, like we don't have massive chunks of money to invest. So when you get stakeholders, they don't just come in from the perspective of what do you call they just don't come in as people. They come in as even physical working people, giving you valuable input and their own industrial expertise, which is quite crucial, more than the money part of it. Like, I think a lot of things can be executed without money, like what we are doing right now, very simply speaking. This is informative content. Somebody would generally pay and put a banner on top, of a particular technology company and just have these 6 people talk generally.
Any last words?
Yep, absolutely. And I've been saving it for the last, because I think the answer to COVID, which is a coronavirus disease, is COVID, which is collaboration and value creation in the immersive domain. So I think if all of us collaborate towards value creation, we could do that. And I think everybody kind of summarized it.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are here to stay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being part of this conversation. And
Pleasure.
please
Pleasure
take
always.
care, because I guess right now, we're talking about COVID-19. I mean, no matter what, I mean, we can reshape the economy, but we can't bring back our health. If we so take care of yourself. And yes, so thank you for being part of this. And you guys,
Thank you, Ravi.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.